In a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, there lived a boy known for his laziness. His days passed in a haze of half-hearted efforts, abandoned tasks, and lingering doubts about his own worth. The villagers, quick to judge, branded him a failure, their words stinging like thorns. Their whispers followed him, heavy with scorn, and though he shrugged them off, the weight of their judgment grew unbearable. Driven by a spark of defiance, he resolved to seek the wisdom of a sage said to dwell in solitude, far from the village's chatter. The journey to the sage's abode was no small feat. The boy trudged through tangled forests and across rocky paths, his steps faltering under the burden of self-doubt. When he finally reached the sage's simple dwelling, he found the old man seated calmly, his eyes sharp with understanding. Without a word, the sage listened as the boy poured out his frustrations, the endless cycle of giving up, the fear of failure, the sting of the villager's words. The sage, unruffled, spoke of a mysterious bird, its head adorned with golden feathers and wings shimmering in hues of green. This bird, he said, appeared only at sunrise atop a distant hill, and those fortunate enough to witness it would find their fortunes transformed. The boy, he promised, would shed his laziness, and every endeavor would flow smoothly, unhindered by obstacles. The boy's heart quickened. This was the answer he sought, a way to silence the doubters and prove his worth. Determined, the boy set his sights on the hill. The first morning, he rose before dawn, his breath visible in the chilly air. The climb was grueling, the path steep and strewn with jagged stones. His legs ached and his resolve wavered as the sky lightened with no sign of the bird. Exhausted, he collapsed at the summit, the horizon empty save for the rising sun's glow. Disappointment gnawed at him, whispering that he was indeed a failure. Yet, something stubborn within him refused to yield. He returned the next day and the day after, each climb testing his endurance. By the fourth morning, his muscles screamed, and his doubts roared louder than ever. He stumbled, tempted to turn back, but the memory of the villager's words pushed him onward. Each failure carved a deeper resolve in his heart, though he could not yet name it. The fifth and sixth mornings brought no change. The hill remained silent, the bird absent. The boy's frustration boiled, but he pressed on, waking earlier, climbing faster, as if speed could summon the creature. His body grew stronger, his steps surer, though he barely noticed. The routine of rising before dawn, facing the hill's challenge, and enduring its silence began to shape him in ways he did not yet understand. By the seventh morning, the sage appeared at the boy's side, his presence quiet but steady. Together they climbed, the old man's pace unhurried, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The boy, weary but determined, matched his steps, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. At the summit, the boy scanned the sky, his eyes darting across the blushing clouds. No golden bird appeared. His chest tightened, the familiar sting of failure rising like bile. But the sage, calm as ever, gestured for him to sit. They faced the sunrise together, the world bathed in hues of amber and rose. The sage's voice, when it came, was gentle but firm. The bird, he revealed, was not a creature of feathers and flight. It was choice, an invisible force that greeted every soul at dawn. Each morning the boy had chosen to rise, to climb, to face the hill despite its silence. Each step had been a rejection of weakness, a defiance of doubt. The bird was not a promise of effortless success, but a symbol of the power within him to shape his own path. The sage's words sank deep. Difficulties, he explained, were not curses but stepping stones. They forged strength, honed resilience, and carved character from the raw stone of the self. True strength lay not in avoiding hardship but in embracing it, in dismantling old habits and persisting through discomfort. Success was not a crown of fame or a throne of status. It was the quiet confidence of meeting challenges head-on, of trusting in one's ability to endure and grow. Destiny was not a fixed star, but a tapestry woven from daily choices, each thread a decision to act with courage or shrink in fear. The boy sat in silence, the sunrise warming his face. He saw now that the hill had never been about the bird. It had been about him, his willingness to rise, to climb, to persist. Each morning's effort had built something within him, something stronger than the lazy habits he once wore like chains. The villager's words no longer held power. They were echoes of a judgment he had outgrown. He understood that every dawn offered a fresh chance to choose between strength and weakness, action and retreat, growth and stagnation. The bird was not a distant miracle, but a truth he carried within. As he descended the hill with the sage, the boy felt lighter, though his body ached. The path back to the village seemed less daunting, the forest less tangled. He returned to his days with a new rhythm. Tasks once abandoned were now met with steady hands. Challenges once feared became puzzles to solve. The villagers noticed the change, their whispers fading into murmurs of surprise. But their opinions no longer defined him. He had found his own measure of worth, built not on their approval, but on the choices he made each day. The boy's life did not become free of obstacles. The world still tested him with setbacks and struggles. But he faced them differently now, with a quiet resolve that grew stronger with each sunrise. He learned to see hardship as a teacher, not an enemy. His efforts, once scattered, became deliberate, each action a brick in the foundation of a life he was building himself. The golden bird, he realized, had never been out there on the hill. It was the spark of choice within him, ignited every morning when he decided to rise and meet the day. The lesson was simple yet profound. Life was not a gift handed down by fate, but a creation shaped by countless small decisions. To choose wisely was to craft a destiny of strength and purpose. Success was not the absence of struggle, but the courage to persist through it, to trust in one's ability to grow. The boy, once called a failure, had become something else entirely. A person who understood that every dawn was a chance to choose, and that in those choices lay the power to shape his own story.